all right, sometimes we got to have those conversations that people don't want to hear. People aren't going to like it. You're probably not going to like me for it, whatever. I seen the Minneapolis police incident where the woman was running from the police and she ended up losing her life, right? My assessment of the situation, I'm not a cop, I'm just a civilian, right? You can't hit the accelerator when a police officer is in front of your vehicle. Whether or not he put himself in front of that vehicle because he wanted to do it, to, have a reason to do what he did, or not, he's in front of that vehicle and you hit the accelerator, she probably wasn't thinking. She's probably panicking, nervous. She's probably never been in a situation like that ever, to where she was in that much trouble that fast. Her adrenaline was probably pumping. She probably was just thinking about escaping and getting away. When you got that going on, like, you don't want to go to jail, you know what I mean? And she probably wasn't trying to hit him. She's probably, because you can tell when she hit the accelerator, the wheel was cut and she was trying to, like, get the vehicle, you know what I mean, to move the vehicle. But unfortunately, he was in the way of the vehicle and he did what he did. And I think if this goes to court, it's going to be justified. You know what I mean? You cannot do that. No matter how, I know there's like this thing going on in America. People want to get rid of ICE. They feel like, people who are here illegally should be able to stay, and they want to be against the Trump administration. And this is kind of spilling over into what's going on, so I know some people have political like agendas behind it all, and I understand that some people have that agenda. I don't agree with their agenda, but I understand some people have that agenda, and the way you guys are trying to cover this is very interesting, because it's like people won't show the whole video. They'll show the side profile shot of what the cop is doing, you know what I mean? They'll show that like image. They won't show the video of what she was doing, so I think you guys are being a little disingenuous, like the news and the coverage of this situation, but it's just what you guys do. I mean, I understand that. A lot of people, when we see things happen like that, we're always like, oh, if she was black, they would have did this and they would have did that. That cop, in my opinion, treated her like he would have treated anybody. I don't think he played favoritisms because of her race. I don't think any of that. You know what I mean? I think it was just this is probably how he does business. You know what I mean? To whoever. So, a lot of people, if it would have been a black person, they would have did this. And then what if she would have ran him over and got away? And then, you know what I mean? Maybe took his life. And then y'all be like, oh, well, because she's not black, they let her do all of this. And, y'all, it's no placating people here. You know what I mean? It's agenda driven. I don't want the lady to have lost her life. I think that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? I think, this is an unfortunate situation, and hopefully people can learn from this and, we can kind of, not do this as in society, run from the police and all of that. But I do feel like the guy was justified. You're not going to like that. I think he was justified. I was kind of looking at the video like, yo, is there any kind of way he, was wrong? And I mean, legally, he could do that. You know what I mean? And get away with it. And he's got, what is it called? Police have some immunity to where, like, I mean, he's got that badge on. He can, hey, you can't really sue him civilly, so qualified immunity or something like that, I think it's called. So I don't know, man. It's just bad. It's just bad all the way around, but this does open up conversations to where if a police officer is in a situation like that, how it should be handled. Like if I was the cop, I probably would not have put my body in front of a vehicle of somebody that is fleeing, putting myself in a situation where I have to do that. You know what I mean? But, I'm not trigger happy. I don't want to do stuff like that to people. You know what I mean? I think it could have been, handled a different way. I think he probably could have caught her later on down the road. Maybe they could have put spike strips down or something. That's how I'm thinking, but maybe she was so panicked she could have ran into a couple of people while she was driving off, and unfortunately he did what he did and probably could have stopped somebody else from getting hurt. So I don't know, man. It's bad all the way around, but I think he was justified. But I'm curious to what y'all think in the comment section below. I get it. Y'all don't like ICE. Y'all want people here illegally. Y'all want them to, get all the services and all. I get it. Is what y'all want. Y'all don't like Republicans. Y'all don't like all of that. You know what I mean? Y'all just want to give up America to everybody, and we don't have America no more. Whatever. So you guys don't like Trump. We get that. But is this situation that happened all because of that, or is it because the cop made an error? You know what I mean? To where he can go to jail. When you look at that video, I don't think you're gonna think the cop is not justified. You look at the video, not just the image. You know what I mean? So I mean, legally he's justified, but I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't have done that. I probably would have gotten in the car and, tried to, use a pit maneuver or something, or had somebody use spike strips or, something, or call the manufacturer, try to see if they could deactivate the vehicle or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know. Whatever they do, they could have did something else, but he was justified. That's my opinion on it, unfortunately. And if something like that, and, we all think we're never going to be in a situation like that, right? Things can happen in a split second. You can just be like chilling, relaxing. Somebody does something, your ego get inflamed and you react. You know what I mean? And then now the police is on you or something crazy. You know what I mean? You're like, what? You like, why is this going on? And you trying to get away. You don't, like, your adrenaline is pumping. You don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, that can happen to anybody. You know what I mean? That's not really thinking with their prefrontal cortex. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. Hopefully we're not trying to just tear each other down. This is an unfortunate situation. I'm sure that lady's family is dealing with enough, right now. The last thing they want to do is turn on the news and be seeing all this stuff. So cops, y'all got to do better. You know what I mean? Y'all got to do better, and people, we got to do better. You know what I'm saying? But I'm out, y'all. Peace.